Now to my open. Tonight, Americans, once hopeful that after electing the first African-American president, the issue of race would be a thing of the past, are left with Barack Obama, who stokes the flames of racial hatred, resentment, and divisiveness. A man who, instead of healing our nation and instead of overcoming any racial divide, prefers to take sides based not on facts but on color, to prejudge situations based not on sworn testimony and evidence but on conjecture and a one-size-fits-all resentment, to peddle the narrative of a national problem between law enforcement and young people of color. Now, every young American who loses his life should be the concern of the man in the White House. But why is it that we only hear from him when death involves a person of color?
When Trayvon Martin was first shot, I said that this could have been my son. The Justice Department has opened an independent federal civil rights investigation into the death of Michael Brown. The Attorney General himself will be traveling to Ferguson.
But James Foley, an American who never committed a crime and was beheaded, is nothing more than a blip in the president's golf game. Mr. President, why do you send White House officials to Brown's funeral, but no one to James Foley's memorial service? I don't remember you injecting yourself in the death of a young white American or sending the Attorney General on a local crime before the justice system can act, as you did with Eric Holder, sending him to Ferguson. Why not speak about young African Americans killed by other African Americans? Black on black crime, the kind of crime for which your hometown of Chicago is so infamous. Instead, you see racism everywhere.
I think Ferguson laid bare a problem, and that is a simmering distrust that exists between too many police departments and too many communities of color.
Mr. President, you say we need trust between police and the African-American community. Police need to be sensitive to minority concerns. Well, how about you teach respect for those who put their lives on the line every day, for those who protect us, for those who are the one line of defense against an otherwise barbaric and chaotic society? How about you teach that when a police officer says move along or put your hands behind your back, you do it, and teach that you don't call cops derogatory names or reach into a police cruiser to grab a cop's gun. But then again, you're the one who thinks cops are stupid.
I think it's fair to say, number one, any of us would be pretty angry. Number two, that the Cambridge police acted stupidly in arresting somebody when there was already proof that they were in their own home. And number three, there is a long history in this country of African Americans and Latinos being stopped by law enforcement disproportionately.
Mr. President, you demand respect. Why not demand respect for police when they issue an order? It's not a suggestion, an invitation, a mediation, or a request. As anarchy reigned and protesters looted stores and burned buildings of hardworking Americans, many African American, where were you? Or do you believe that those crimes are justification for a perceived injustice? Simple collateral damage, like Occupy Wall Street, that tax-paying Americans just need to suffer through and then pay for. But no, you fan the flames of resentment, trumpeting your own investigation that you could have completed by now, only prolonging the anger, suggesting, yes, folks, this is yet another white injustice, and I'm going to reverse it with a federal civil rights investigation, when you know there isn't a smidgen, your word, of evidence to claim or to support the claim of that. Weren't you going to reverse the Trayvon Martin, George Zimmerman case with a federal investigation? What happened to that one? Nothing, absolutely nothing. Have you no respect for the law and for our system of justice? If you don't like the law, change it. Hell, you do it all the time without Congress. And you bring in the greatest charlatan of them all, a man who makes a living inciting racial hatred, a tax cheat, a liar, who claimed that an African-American girl was raped by a white man, stirring the pot of racial hatred that resulted in a defamation judgment against him, to sit with you at the citadel of power in the White House to discuss how law enforcement needs to be more sensitive. Now, there are times when injustices occur. I know. But I also know that the system works. According to that same Al Sharpton, as district attorney, I convicted the first white cop of shooting an African American in the history of the state of New York. That jury, not affected by centuries of racism, but by the facts, pure and simple. Mr. President, if you're so concerned about racism, why don't you do something about it? It's no secret that black crime is disproportionately high. Why not focus on poverty, on lack of education, on drugs, on guns, and on broken families? Bill Clinton moved Americans from welfare to workfare. You turned back the hands of time. With you as president, things aren't so great for African Americans. The poverty rate among African Americans has gone up since you took office. Fewer African Americans own homes. The number of African Americans on food stamps rose from 6 million to almost 11 million since you took office. Mr. President, you seem to forget. You weren't just elected by one group. You were elected by all of us, Republicans and Democrats, blacks and whites. Why don't you act like you're the president of all of us? And that's my open. Tell me